sadness, misery, joy, fear. How does art make you feel emotion? How do they do it? How do you draw convincing emotions that make you feel something? Can you just learn to do it? Can I do it? Hi, I'm Gene. I'm an artist. Well, an aspiring artist. I sell paintings and sketches on the street sometimes. I wanted to make these videos to improve my art and maybe help you improve yours as well. So, how do people make you feel emotions through their art? It's like they're essentially able to capture these feelings in a picture and then send it to your brain like a file. How? Well, before we get directly at that, let's set up the groundwork first. When it comes to facial expressions, humans are the most proficient animal on the entire planet. No other animal has quite the same range of facial expressions as humans, which is why a lot of the art built around animals tends to give them humanizing features. And the reason for that is animals evolve with certain traits that help them prosper. And for humans, that happens to be communication. And before getting further into it, let's just get a quick rundown of the fundamental anatomy of human face. I know anatomy is boring, but let's just get it down first things first. So, most animals communicate through body posture, scent, vocalizations, but humans evolved to communicate heavily through eyes, eyebrows, mouth, and tiny facial movements. The human face contains around 40 plus muscles capable of creating thousands of expression combinations. Imagine two early humans. One can instantly show fear when spotting a predator, and one can instantly recognize that fear. Both survive more often. Over thousands of generations, better emotional signaling became advantageous. The most important signaling muscles are frontales, the corrugator, the orbicularis oculi, the zygomaticus major, the levator labii, the depressor anguli oris, the mentalis, and here's why eyes matter the most. Humans have unusually visible eyes. Compared to most primates, humans have large white sclera, which is the white portion of your eye, which can easily show you where someone is looking at. The eye direction communicates attention, intention, fear, attraction, and thought. This is a huge social advantage. And why some faces can show certain emotions better? The reason for that is the underlying bone structure, which acts as a stage for the muscles. Some examples would be deep-set eyes can show intensity and seriousness. Large eyes can show innocence, fear, and wonder. Heavy brow ridge can show anger, dominance. Fuller lips can show warmth, sadness, or affection. A strong jaw can be a sign of determination and authority. The muscles are similar in most people. The architecture of the bone structure underneath is what changes how expressions are read. At the most basic level, emotion leads brain signal to facial muscles, which then contract, and then facial shape changes, and other humans instantly interpret that change, and your brain is so specialized for this that you can often detect emotions from facial changes lasting less than a second. That's why faces became such powerful storytelling tools in art, acting, social life, because humans evolved to read them almost automatically. So what did we learn? Nothing. Why do I always have to do that? Trying to understand and break down normal human tendencies with logic instead of just feeling them. I grew up isolated as an outsider looking in, always observing and never participating. I didn't even realize it when I changed from observing others to observing myself. Rationalizing social behavior so I can fit in just makes you stand out even more. And I know that, but I still keep doing it. Okay, calm down. What am I supposed to do then? Think about what someone feels when they have an expression on their face. Isn't that what I was complaining about? No. No. Okay, so to understand the correlation between emotion and expression, I have an idea. Instead of looking at paintings, let's turn towards a different kind of art. Acting. People don't read faces feature by feature. They read eyes, eyebrows, mouth, head angle, and body language. Tiny eyebrow movement communicates just as much emotion as a huge smile. So here are some facial features and what they mean. Brows lowered means anger and determination. Inner brows raised can signal sadness and vulnerability. One eyebrow raised can signal skepticism. Eyes widened is fear or surprise. Eyes narrowed is focus or suspicion. Lips pressed is tension or restraint. And jaw clenched can show stress or anger. But that's not all. Here's what the angle of the hair also means in certain situations. A chin tilted downwards can show thoughtfulness, submissiveness, or sadness. A head tilt can show curiosity or empathy. A head forward can show aggression. A head leaned back can show discomfort or disgust. And looking through the brows can show intensity. And the perspective of the person on the receiving end on this also plays a part. A low angle can make them seem powerful. A high angle can make the other party feel vulnerable. A close-up means small expressions matter. A wide shot can mean the body language matters. Film acting is smaller than theater acting because the camera sees everything. If you can think of your characters using these same fundamentals, it can give you an idea of what expression or emotion they will be showing and why that would be the case. All you have to do is ask yourself, what is this person trying to get from the other person? That's where the believable acting and believable character comes from. For artists, a face with a clear intention is usually more compelling than a face with perfect anatomy. Okay, I'm getting the hang of this. I'm getting somewhere. This is helpful insight. I can already see how you can implement these on your characters. And now that I think about it, it can also be helpful in just living my life. If I can practice this stuff in a mirror or something, I can really be more expressive in social situations. I might even be able to make up for my lack of social skills caused by the life of isolation that I've lived up until now. I mean, can you blame me? We kept moving places. There were no kids around my age where I lived. I had to learn to spend time by myself. And my father, at an extremely young age, was always separating me from the other kids playing, and it made me refrain from going in and playing with them, even though he had good intentions. So I just resorted to observing instead of partaking, but it ruined my childhood. So to get some idea as to how we can implement the stuff that we have learned so far, let's look at the greats in the past who have done so before us, because reinventing the wheel is a waste of time. First, let's look at some artists, then let's analyze some specific paintings from them. So the first one is Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo's faces feel alive because he understood that emotions are transitions, not poses. He rarely drew pure emotions. His faces often contained conflicting feelings simultaneously. He used tiny asymmetries and subtle muscle tensions. He focused on thought creating the expression. The lesson would be to draw the moment someone becomes angry, sad, or hopeful, not when they are finally finished expressing the emotion. Caravaggio understood that the emotion is often a reaction. Faces are responding to something. The body expresses emotion as much as the face. Light directs attention to emotional information. Characters feel as if they are caught off guard. The lesson would be to, before drawing an expression, know exactly what caused it. And I have to include this man in here, which is Sui Ishida, the author of Tokyo Ghoul. Ishida draws psychology more than anatomy. For him, emotional truth is greater than physical accuracy. He uses design, composition, and abstraction as emotional language. Characters often look fragmented when mentally fragmented. The eyes carry internal conflict. So the lesson to be learned would be, don't ask what sadness looks like. Instead, you should ask, what does this person's sadness feel like? And a shared principle between all of these artists is that all three are masters of internal tension. Most beginner artists would draw either a person who is happy or sad or angry, but these artists usually draw angry but scared, happy but lonely, confident but desperate, loving but resentful. Humans are rarely just one emotion. The strongest emotional art comes from two opposing emotional forces colliding in the same character at the same time. That's where expression starts feeling human rather than illustrative. And now let's look at some specific pieces from these artists to see how they implement what we noticed in some of their best work. This one's a cliche, the fallen angel. The expression is not sadness, it's rage, humiliation, defiance, grief, all fighting for control over the fallen angel's face at the same time. The tears make you feel like he's in pain, the eyes make you feel like he wants to cause pain. That's why it feels powerful. How do you apply this? Instead of drawing a character who is angry, draw a character who is angry because they are hurt, which would mean there's an emotion plus a counter emotion. The entombment of Christ. Why this works? Because the faces aren't the focus. The entire composition grieves. Every character creates a diagonal cascade downwards towards the Christ body. The characters are frozen at maximum emotional tension, and the viewer is placed almost where the body will be buried. How do you apply this? Ask yourself, does my composition feel the same emotion as my character? If you removed the faces, would the image still communicate the feeling? Most artists rely on facial expressions a bit too much. The conversion of Saint Paul. Why this works is Caravaggio paints a psychological event as a physical one. Paul is lying helpless on the ground while the horse dominates the frame. Yet, emotionally, Paul owns the entire painting. Caravaggio strips the scene to its essential emotional components and uses light to focus attention on revelation rather than action. How do you apply this? When drawing emotions, make the environment support the emotion. Use lighting for emotional storytelling. Think psychologically, not just literally. And then we have Kaneki's centipede transformation. And why this works is because Ishida stops drawing anatomy. He starts drawing trauma. The centipede isn't a creature design first, it's a psychological symbolism tied to Kaneki's torture and fractured identity. How do you apply this? Most artists only use facial expressions. The strongest emotional arts combine all three: complex internal emotion, composition that reinforces that, and visual symbolism that externalizes that. But all of this is still too constrained. It's what emotions look like from the outside looking in when you look at someone who is expressing themselves, not what it feels like to actually be feeling those emotions yourself. When you're actually feeling these emotions, you aren't paying attention to what expression you have on your face. You aren't deciding which expression to put on in order to best represent your feelings. You just do it. And how you see those emotions inside of you versus inside of someone else, which is like from the outside, are two completely different things. If you ask someone to visually explain what an emotion feels like, the usual answers are like the color red is associated with intensity and the color blue is associated with depth. And the way most people picture anger is a balloon being filled with too much air and is on the verge of popping, or a volcano. Where do they get these from? Where does it come from? It's very abstract. So let's look at some abstract artists who are proficient in expressing how you feel emotions instead of how you perceive them. Vasily Kandinsky, Composition 7. What's actually happening here? Most beginners think that Kandinsky is painting chaos, but he's not. Underneath the mess is an invisible rhythm of diagonals, repeated curves, visual beats, and color collisions. The painting behaves more like music than illustration. Kandinsky wanted color and shape to function independently from objects. He was trying to see if a line can be sad without a sad face. The power isn't in random marks, random colors, or random abstractions. It's in controlled tension. Mark Rothko's Number 14. Now you might think it's just rectangles, but the rectangles are not the subject. The edges are. Rothko spent enormous effort making boundaries vibrate. The forms feel like they're appearing and disappearing simultaneously. The emotion comes from uncertainty. By creating emotional ambiguity, the viewer feels something is happening without knowing what. Francis Bacon's study after Velázquez's portrait of Pope Innocent X. Bacon isn't abstract, but emotionally he functions like an abstract artist. The face is often distorted beyond recognition. Why? Because a realistic scream can be theatrical, but a distorted scream feels psychological. Many artists incorporate Bacon's deformation, but only a few understand why he distorts certain things. The distortion is targeted. He bends anatomy exactly where emotional pressure exists. The mouth, the eyes, the jaw, the silhouette. By distorting the emotional center, the viewer feels subconsciously and follows the damage. Okay, so I'll be honest. Around the 5-minute mark, I just completely lost the plot. I have no clue what the hell this video is even about anymore. Originally, it was supposed to be like a how to draw emotion video where I was going to pretend to analyze a bunch of paintings I like with like some meta segments in between of what's going on in my mind or something. But then the video got completely derailed, and I'll be honest as to why that happened. Basically, I just got lazy and I was like, I'll just ask ChatGPT to write the scripts for the portion of the video where I analyze the paintings. I guess while I was talking to ChatGPT, I must have been thinking about acting and micro expressions and stuff, and I guess I came up with the idea to include that in the video as well, even though it has no relation to the topic that I'm talking about and makes no sense. But because ChatGPT is such a yes man and can never disagree with you, it didn't even bother to point that out to me and just acted as if it makes complete sense. And it just let me derail my whole thing, which I didn't even realize up until now when I was editing the video. And now, I'll say it again, I have no clue what the hell this video is even about anymore. This is a problem I have. I always start so many things and I have so many ideas, but I never finish them. I can never stick to one thing long enough to actually see it come to life. It's like so disheartening and sad to notice this pattern, because like I realize basically none of my ideas that I've had in the past or will have in the future will ever be fleshed out into something that can actually exist, because I always kill them before they can even be born. It's like mental abortion, and that's why I'm going to break this pattern. I'm going to stand on business and finish what I started. I'm not going to trash this video because I've spent like 3 weeks on this now. But like, it's humiliating when you realize you're all bark and all you're good for is just talking out of your butt. And even though this video doesn't make perfect sense now, I guess I can't just make a painting or like a half-assed drawing and pretend like that resolves this. It's fine. Who are you again? It doesn't matter if the video title ends up being misleading. The end goal was just to make a video. Even if it's bad, it's still a learning experience for you. Oh, I get it. You're like my bad, futile attempt at providing closure to this video. Yeah. As I said, it's fine, as long as you learned your lesson, which is to not use ChatGPT or AI while writing your script for a video, especially about art. You oxymoron. It's fine. Who are you now? I'm your futile attempt at providing closure to this video. Wait, was that a jump cut? Oh, okay. Nah, I was just kidding. There was no way I could have ended the video like that. So the way to truthfully convey emotion through your art is to... And here's where eyes matter the most. Humans have unusually be Okay, so to understand the what, read the whole thing first.